A few hours later at the Manhwa Corporation, Chen Mo and everyone else had arrived. He wanted to meet Chairman Li, but the receptionist said an appointment was required. At that moment, a young woman approached from the side. According to Chen Mo, this was his mother's adopted daughter and his sworn sister. From Wenking's behavior, it was clear that her relationship with Chen Mo was very close. She scolded him for not informing her beforehand. But Chen Mo just smiled and explained that he wanted to surprise his mother. He felt that notifying them in advance would ruin the excitement. Although the company's policy required prior notice, Wenking waved it off, signaling him not to worry too much. Chairman Li Sufang was currently on a business trip, so Wenking arranged accommodations for Chen Mo. When she noticed someone dressed in traditional attire, Wenking shook her head, exasperated. In this day and age, people still dress like that. She sighed. As soon as they arrived at Gyeongsang, Wenking briefly mistook the girl accompanying Chen Mo as his girlfriend. However, he gently smiled and clarified that she was just a classmate. Suddenly, a mocking voice sounded from a man standing nearby. "Isn't this the useless son of the chairman?" His words were filled with provocation. Although Chen Mo did not show anger, he responded in a cold and determined tone. "Watch your manners. Someone like you has no right to insult others." The man was Charubin, the son of a member of Manhwa's board of directors. He had been eyeing Wenking for a long time, and despite being warned, still maintained his arrogant attitude. This guy was always at the bottom of the class in middle school. If that's not useless, what is? Wenking, furious, was about to act, but Chirudin sneered and taunted. "Careful now. My father might stop investing in your company." Despite the threat, Wenking showed no fear. In Cherubin's eyes, he continued to act as if he controlled the situation. At that moment, Chen Mo calmly placed his hand on Wenking's shoulder and said, "Since when did Manhwa become a place for outsiders to flaunt themselves like this?" After saying this, he and Wenking left, leaving Cherubin standing in anger, grinding his teeth. He vowed to get his revenge during the anniversary celebration the next day. Later, in the lounge, Wenking shared updates about the company with Chen Mo. His mother, Li Sufang, had just acquired a new piece of land to expand the business. Initially, the bank agreed to lend funds, but they suddenly withdrew their support, causing a financial bottleneck. Not only that, several other companies turned their backs and refused to cooperate with Manhwa. Li Sufang suspected that someone was secretly sabotaging them. Upon hearing this, Chen Mo showed concern and asked about the upcoming martial arts conference. Wenking mentioned that his mother would return to attend the event and wanted Chen Mo to accompany her. After explaining everything, Wenking bid him farewell, leaving Chen Mo alone in the room to ponder what might happen next. Although it seemed like mere encouragement, Wenking smiled, determined to give her all for both the chairman and Chen Mo. Meanwhile, Chen Mo's eyes burned with hatred. What he lost in his past life, he vowed to reclaim with interest in this one. As night fell near the Manhwa headquarters, a residential building erupted into a fierce blaze. The fire spread rapidly, engulfing the entire structure. Many were still trapped inside. Although firefighters arrived, they faced difficulties because the elevators only reached the 20th floor, leaving the upper floors inaccessible. In this dire situation, everyone did their best to save as many as they could. In a hidden corner, Chen Mo watched the flames with a calm gaze and decided to intervene. In his hand appeared a strange bracelet, a treasure with the power to summon rain and wind. Thunder rumbled across the sky, and heavy raindrops began to fall, quickly extinguishing the fire. Everyone was astonished, believing that heaven itself had taken pity. Strangely, the rain only fell within a few dozen meters around the building, arousing suspicion. Elsewhere, the security forces were frantically searching for clues. When they witnessed the unusual rain, they immediately suspected someone was controlling it. Martial arts governor Kang Di-yun was also present. After reviewing the surveillance footage, he zoomed in on screen number 9 and saw Chen Mo using the bracelet, surrounded by water energy. "This is where it's coming from," Kang Di-yun declared. Not long after, Kim Yan-yu, the grandson of Kim Jong-un, also identified Chen Mo. Immediately, Kang Di-yun ordered the incident to be classified as top secret. Anyone leaking information would be treated as a spy. The next morning, while Chen Mo was meditating in his room, he sensed something unusual. Li Zufang burst in, furious, scolding him before he could say a word. She raised her voice, "Instead of studying, you wander around with young Yangsong. How am I supposed to face the Yan family if they get angry?" Although Chen Mo tried to explain, she refused to listen, dragging him outside to continue lecturing him. Tang Tang and Chen Songjia watched anxiously, knowing that only Chen Mo's mother could discipline him like this. Just then, Yaiyang Song appeared and helped him out of the awkward situation. Seeing her, Li Xufang immediately asked questions but was shocked when Yaiyang Song declared, "I belong to Chen Mo." Her words left Li Xufang stunned. Yaiyang Song's hesitant demeanor only reinforced the idea that things had gone too far. In anger, Li Xufang scolded Chen Mo. "What will you do if the Yan family finds out? Can you bear the consequences?" Despite his efforts to explain, nothing worked. Yaiyang Xiong had to intervene, saying she had willingly declared her intentions, leaving Li Xufang speechless. Reluctantly, she said, "Just don't do anything to embarrass both families." Before Chen Mo could say more, Li Xufang bluntly ordered him to pack up and join her for the conference. Calm and unhurried, Chen Mo took out a small box and said, "This is a gift for you and Wenqing." Both were surprised, as Chen Mo had never given anyone a gift before. When they opened the box, they found 2 exquisite jade pendants. Chen Mo insisted that they always keep them close and never let them out of their sight. Li Xufang did not question this and nodded in agreement, while Wenqing's gaze toward Chen Mo changed, hinting at new feelings. It seemed she realized that the Chen Mo of the past had truly grown up. At the International Business Hotel Jingjing, Chen Mo's group exuded confidence and elegance. The accompanying beauties alone attracted countless admiring glances, leaving many awestruck. Later, Li Xufang and Wenqing separated to discuss business, but she didn't forget to remind Wenqing to take care of Yaiyang Song and ensure he didn't cause trouble. Chen Mo glanced around, but everything now felt dull and monotonous to him. The fame and wealth he had once craved in his past life no longer held any value. The only thing he treasured now was true power. Not long after, Chomune and his group appeared, observing the scene. Chen Mo noticed a few martial artists with remarkable strength, including even a grandmaster. From the stage, the host announced the presence of Man Jiangno, the CEO of the Manhwa Corporation. Thanks to his power and wealth, he was warmly welcomed by everyone. Man Jiangno stood and gave a polite speech, praising the businesses present as the country's economic pillars. Immediately, smaller corporations scrambled to flatter him, showing great respect. He responded to all of them with a gracious and cheerful smile. However, when Li Xufang approached to greet him, his attitude changed completely. He became indifferent and acted as if she didn't exist. Thinking he hadn't heard her clearly, she patiently greeted him again, but Man Jiangno responded dismissively, with an air of contempt. Soon after, he announced the termination of all collaborations with Manhwa Corporation, showing no courtesy whatsoever. This scene drew everyone's attention. Some whispered, while others seemed pleased at Manhwa's apparent downfall. Man Jiangno's decision to turn against them signaled a severe crisis that could bring devastating losses, even bankruptcy, to Manhwa. Despite this, Chen Mo calmly observed the situation with interest. Li Xufang tried to ask for an explanation, but Man Jiangno coldly replied that he had no obligation to answer. At that moment, Li Xufang's phone rang. On the other end of the line, devastating news awaited her. 8 major shareholders had decided to withdraw their investments, and a previously committed sponsor abruptly canceled their agreement. Even Man Jiangno himself declared an end to cooperation. Hearing this, she was so shocked that she dropped her phone. At that moment, 8 directors of Manhwa arrived, including Chai Chonghua, the father of Cherubin. Bowing before Man Jiangno, Chai Chonghua stated, "We have withdrawn from Manhwa and hope to collaborate with you in the future." Man Jiangno laughed heartily, welcoming Chai Chonghua's proposal with enthusiasm. He even declared that anyone supporting Manhwa would be considered an enemy of his family. Hearing this announcement, many in the hall understood that Manhwa had become a target for elimination. With shareholders pulling out, the corporation had almost no way out. Li Xufang was deeply worried. The company lacked funds and was now publicly torn apart before potential investors, further driving them away. Suddenly, Chen Mo pulled out a chair and sat down in front of his mother, causing a stir among the crowd. "Isn't that Chen Mo?" someone murmured. Laughter and sneers followed. "Isn't he Li Sufang's useless son? No wonder this company is collapsing." Li Sufang and Wenqing assumed he intended to cause trouble and tried to get him to leave, fearing he would only further humiliate them. A voice whispered, "Even if he stopped, what could a high school student possibly do to change anything?" Despite the interruptions, Chen Mo confidently declared, "I can save you and the company." Li Sufang simply shook her head, dismissing his words as the naive boast of a child. What could a student achieve? Chen Mo, however, remained calm. His smile was gentle but firm as he stated, "It's time for me to protect you and everyone else." He then turned to Manjang and boldly announced, "As long as I'm here, no one is allowed to touch my way." The statement made the entire hall erupt with laughter, mocking his audacity. A kid claiming to protect a corporation? Hilarious. Good thing I didn't partner with Manhwa, or I'd be dragged down with them because of him. Ignoring the ridicule, Chen Mo remained composed and asked, "Who is willing to help Manhwa overcome this crisis?" Immediately, a man stepped forward and declared, "An Lim Kin Yushan will use all our resources to assist." This proclamation stunned Manjang No. Kin Yushan, the leader of An Lim, siding with Manhwa. But the surprises didn't end there. Cho Muna and Go Jianggan, leading another group of investors, also stepped forward and announced their support for Manhwa. Bowing to Chen Mo, they expressed their respect. "It's thanks to him that we have the opportunity to help." Half the hall quickly shifted their allegiance to Chen Mo. Li Sufang and Wenqing were overwhelmed with disbelief, unable to comprehend this miracle. Yet, it was undeniable that something extraordinary had happened. In response to Li Sufang's gratitude, those who supported her seemed pleased. "From now on, we'll follow your guidance," they assured her. Although the situation appeared to be spiraling out of control, Manjang remained confident in his resources. He smirked coldly, convinced that no matter how capable Chen Mo's group was, they couldn't escape his grasp. He called out loudly, "Senior brother." Immediately, a voice echoed, drawing everyone's attention. The crowd became restless, curious about the newcomer. Most people were astonished, except for Sufang, who instantly recognized the figure, Li Chongshan, a key figure of the Li family. Seeing Li Chongshan, Chen Mo's expression turned serious. It wasn't because he feared the opponent's strength, but because history had changed. In his past life, Manhwa's crisis hadn't involved the Li family. Yet this time, they were directly behind the entire ordeal. Cho Muna and Go Jianggan, standing nearby, couldn't hide their anxiety. Could Chen Mo stand against the massive force of the Li family? Upon arrival, Li Chongshan wasted no time and declared, "I'm here under orders from the family to destroy Manhwa Corporation." His words infuriated Li Sufang, but she was helpless, knowing all too well the Li family's ruthlessness. Grateful for the assistance from others, she reluctantly declined further help, unwilling to drag them into the conflict. All eyes turned to Chen Mo, waiting for his reaction. But facing Li Chongshan, he simply smirked disdainfully. "You're just a servant of the Li family. You're not qualified to face me," he remarked calmly. Chen Mo's indifferent tone further irritated Manjang No. At that moment, Chen Mo continued, showing no trace of fear. "I know the Li family has prepared someone more interesting. Bring him out already and stop wasting time." Immediately, an elderly man appeared, exuding an overwhelming aura that enveloped the entire hall. His radiance was both dazzling and mystical, leaving everyone in awe. Li Longji, martial artists around exclaimed in shock. A legendary figure had arrived, and his presence left many breathless. Li Longji scrutinized Chen Mo carefully before speaking. "You have potential. It's a pity the path you've chosen is so narrow." Chen Mo calmly responded, "The Li family must consist of more than just you." Then, he turned to the man and said, "Bring everyone out. I'll deal with them all at once." Li Longji, enraged by Chen Mo's arrogant demeanor, decided to strike. However, before he could act, Chen Mo spoke, "Chen Sonja, take action." Instantly, Chen Sonja stepped forward, radiating a powerful spiritual force that revealed his grandmaster capabilities, leaving the entire hall in awe. 2 grandmasters in one day? This is unprecedented, someone exclaimed. Li Xufang was shocked and thought, so this is the mysterious master Chen Mo once mentioned. Li Longji, unfazed, stared at Chen Mo and asked, "Do you think he can protect you?" Chen Mo merely smiled and replied, "He's not here to protect me. He's here to kill you." Overwhelmed with rage, Li Longji charged forward to attack. Chen Sonja, undeterred, countered with a punch. The clash of the 2 grandmasters' fists generated a tremendous shockwave, forcing everyone around to step back. In that moment, Li Longji was sent flying, spitting blood midair. The entire hall fell silent in astonishment. A single punch had gravely injured a grandmaster. Li Chongshin stood frozen, unable to believe what had just occurred. When grandmasters fight, it takes hundreds of exchanges to determine a winner, he thought. How could one move incapacitate Li Longji? Now realizing the vast gap between himself and his opponent, Li Longji gasped for breath and asked, "What style of martial arts did you use?" Chen Sonja coldly replied, "The dead have no need to know." Seeing Li Longji pushed to the brink, he desperately invoked his family name as a threat. "If you kill me, the Li family will not spare you." Hearing this, Chen Mo smirked. "If the Li family seeks revenge, let them come. I will kill them one by one until no one remains." With that, Chen Sonja unleashed a final punch. Despite mustering all his strength to counter it, Li Longji was unable to withstand the blow and was flung straight into the ceiling, leaving behind a lifeless corpse. The entire hall was stunned, unable to believe their eyes, killing a grandmaster in just 2 moves. Even seasoned experts could not comprehend it. How could 2 grandmasters differ so greatly in power? Only Chen Mo understood. Although Li Longji had entered the transformation stage earlier, his cultivation skills and martial prowess were no match for Chen Sonja's. If Chen Sonja had failed today, Chen Mo would have been forced to choose another disciple. On Chen Sonja's side, a single glance from him was enough to make Li Chongshan and Man Jiangno break out in cold sweat. Meanwhile, Chen Mo refrained from directly dealing with them, and instead instructed someone to deliver a message. "In 3 years, you will witness the Li family kneeling and begging for forgiveness before me." At that moment, even asking permission to leave, Li Chongshan dared not casually address Chen Mo. The events that had just unfolded completely changed Li Xufang's perspective. Previously, she had always believed the Li family was too powerful, almost invincible. But now, she realized that nothing was immutable. As for Man Jiangno, while Chen Mo greatly desired to destroy the Man family, the current timing was not appropriate. The atmosphere later turned pleasant as Li Xufang and the investors engaged in cordial conversations. Everyone was eager to provide whatever Manhwa needed, hoping to strengthen long-term relationships. At the Li family's Sayadu residence, when news of the conference's events reached them, the household was astonished. Li Liwen considered summoning the mysterious figure to intervene, but Li Dongyang believed the situation was not yet dire. They decided to leverage their influence in the secular world to encircle the Manhwa Corporation, as martial artists were forbidden from interfering in worldly affairs without breaking the rules. In the Jingyu district, Chen Mo and his close acquaintances gathered. Li Xufang mentioned Chen Mo's father, who continued working tirelessly even during Lunar New Year's Eve, as though everything would come to a halt without him in Fengshen County. From this moment on, Li Xufang regarded Chen Sonja with the utmost respect, repeatedly addressing him as master, much to his discomfort. As for Chen Mo, he felt uneasy about his companions tagging along. Although he had intended for them to return to their hometowns for the holiday, Jiang Song insisted on staying, which only added to his frustration. Just then, Chen Mo's father entered the room, surprised to see so many people gathered. From Chen Mo's perspective, his father had always worked tirelessly to prove himself to the Li family and their relatives. However, in his previous life, his father had failed and carried regret until the end. In this life, Chen Mo was determined not to let history repeat itself. During dinner, Li Xufang recounted the events that had transpired, prompting Chen Mo's father to reluctantly show courtesy to Chen Sonja, despite feeling uneasy. After the meal, The group moved to the living room to discuss future plans. Next year, Chen Mo would participate in the Chen family's business competition, held every 5 years. Young members aged 18 to 23 were given startup capital, and the top 3 performers would be honored at the annual family conference. With this competition, Chen Mo was determined to bring pride to his father. Observing his confident demeanor, his father could only hope that Chen Mo would deliver on his promises, as failure would turn their family into a laughingstock. While Li Zufang could not contribute much, she was always ready to support her son. This time, with Chen Sonja's companionship, she believed Chen Mo would not face challenges alone. However, Chen Mo's father remained concerned that his youthful inexperience might lead him to squander the investment on trivial pursuits. Listening to his parents' advice, Chen Mo obediently agreed. Later, Chen Mo asked for permission to meet his friends. He called Tan Qinsheng, but it took a long time before he finally answered with an unusual tone that made Chen Mo feel uneasy. Without delay, Chen Mo texted Sochen and Zihao, arranging a meeting. In his previous life, Chen Mo had never heard of Tan Qinsheng encountering trouble, but perhaps his reincarnation had altered the course of events. Before long, a car pulled up by the roadside, and Tan Qinsheng and Zihao stepped out, both delighted to reunite with Chen Mo. Although initially suspicious of Chen Sonja's presence, Chen Mo quickly reassured them. There's no need to be cautious among us. Sochen arrived last, and the group entered a restaurant, choosing a table. Without hesitation, Chen Mo ordered the entire menu, leaving Tan Qinsheng wide-eyed in astonishment. Just then, everyone's attention turned toward the door as a beautiful blonde-haired girl entered. It was none other than Sochen. What caught Chen Mo's attention was the unusual spiritual energy emanating from Sochen, with her heartbeat fluctuating intermittently. She had been infected with a demonic parasite, a technique from the Temu family. If not removed, she would become a tool for others to absorb her energy, leading to exhaustion and eventually death, as had happened in her previous life. Sochen suddenly disappeared, and Chen Mo understood that this was the tragic fate she had met before. But this time, he was determined to change that. The parasite within Sochen was only the incomplete form of the original, and Chen Mo knew that he could remove it if he discovered the person behind this. When meeting Chen Sonja, Sochen was somewhat confused but did not show too many emotions. Their conversation proceeded naturally, and a pleasant atmosphere spread while they dined. Chen Mo assured her that if there were any difficulties, she could tell him, and he would certainly help her overcome them. Everyone thought they would be pleased by this offer, but Tan Qinsheng suddenly went silent, looking very tense. When Sochen was about to say something, Tan Qinsheng slammed the table and shouted, "Do you think we're that inferior? On what basis do you think you can solve problems that I can't?" Tan Qinsheng's anger took Zihao by surprise, and he didn't understand why Tan Qinsheng was reacting this way. Chen Mo had only wanted to care for and help his friends, but in response to Tan Qinsheng's reaction, Chen Mo remained silent, not showing any response. Seeing this, Tan Qinsheng grew angrier and continued criticizing Chen Mo. "You think just because of your connections, you're somehow better than me. In reality, you're no different from me, yet you're always trying to act superior." In the end, Tan Qinsheng declared that their friendship was over, regardless of the attempts of those around them to explain. Tan Qinsheng was still furious. Chen Mo silently filled his glass with wine and drank it, saying nothing. Tan Qinsheng stared at him for a while before picking up the bottle and drinking it, finishing it, then walking out. Zihao followed him, hoping to resolve the misunderstanding. At this point, only Chen Mo and Sochen remained. Chen Mo decided to speak directly about Sochen's condition. When he asked about her situation, Sochen fell into deep thought, but then replied that there was nothing wrong. The meal ended in silence, and everyone dispersed. Chen Mo watched Sochen leave, feeling uneasy. He then instructed Chen Sonja to keep an eye on her without drawing attention. In a secluded corner near the car, a member of Yinsan was waiting. His name was Ying Naiping, and he was assigned to monitor Sochen. Upon seeing her, he immediately reminded her, "The master doesn't like people like them. You shouldn't continue getting involved with them, or you'll drag them into this." Despite Sochen's explanation and even attempts to threaten him, Ying Yiping remained cold and resolute. With no other choice, Sokyun silently got into the car without saying another word. However, every action of Ying Yiping and Sokyun was closely monitored by Chen Songja. Afterward, he reported all the details to Chen Mo. At the same time, Zihao also returned and advised Chen Mo not to worry about Tan Qinsheng's words, saying that he had his own reasons. Chen Mo had already figured out the problem and asked Zihao for more details. According to him, Tan Qinsheng's family and Hu Jianhua, a classmate, were both in the hotel industry and had always been rivals. Recently, when the young master of the Kim family wanted to open a high-end club chain in Fengshua County, both families competed for his support. As a result, the young master of the Kim family chose to cooperate with Hu Jianhua, while Tan Qinsheng's family was left out. The young master even insulted Tan Qinsheng, which caused him great emotional pain. Moreover, Hu Jianhua's family used this support to plot the takeover of Tan Qinsheng's liquor shop. Tan Qinsheng was under immense pressure, and perhaps because of this, he lost control during their previous meeting. After hearing this, Chen Mo patted his friend on the back and said, "Leave this matter to me, I'll handle it." This statement left his friend stunned, not knowing how to react. At the Tan Qinsheng family-owned hotel, there was a large gathering today to celebrate. The Tan family, including Tan Qinsheng's father and Hu Jianhua's father and son, were all present. Although they were mortal enemies, Tan Qinsheng's father, Tan Guanghui, treated them politely and courteously. However, Hu Wenwei acted arrogantly, showing disrespect right in front of the host. Hu Jianhua even insulted Tan Qinsheng's liquor shop, calling it a public restroom. These words enraged Tan Qinsheng's father and son. To say such things on New Year's Day was like slapping the host's face. Then, without any further pleasantries, Hu Wenwei got straight to the point. He offered to buy the liquor shop for only 3 million yuan, citing his intention to dominate the hotel industry in the county. Upon hearing this, Tan Qinsheng shouted angrily, "This shop is worth at least 20 million. 3 million is outright robbery." Hu Wenwei, using the backing of the young master of the Kim family, argued that no one could oppose the power of the Kim family. Despite this, Tan Guanghui firmly refused, stating that this shop was the culmination of his life's work, and he would never give it up easily. He then ordered Tanlin, a burly man, to escort the guests out. However, as soon as Tanlin stepped forward, a man with green hair next to Hu Wenwei quickly struck him down with a single punch. It turned out that this man was a martial artist, and his strength was enough to wipe out the entire Hu Wenwei family without any resistance. As the situation grew tense, Chen Mo suddenly entered with an imposing aura that shattered the oppressive atmosphere. Upon seeing him, both Hu Wenwei and his son quickly urged Chen Mo to leave, saying that the situation was not suitable for him to get involved in. Chen Mo merely smiled and said that he came to wish them a happy new year and discuss business. He declared his intention to buy their hotel, leaving everyone stunned. Hu Jianhua laughed mockingly and said, "What can someone useless like you do? Even if you rely on your mother's wealth, you still can't afford this hotel." Tan Qinsheng also tried to persuade him, telling him not to cause trouble in this situation. But Chen Mo became even more interested, asking Tan Guanghui to set any price, and he would buy the hotel. When Hu Wenwei saw that he couldn't convince Chen Mo, he ordered the green-haired man to strike again. Once more, the man exerted his power, creating pressure throughout the room. Tan Qinsheng anxiously tried to pull Chen Mo away, fearing that if they stayed, Chen Mo might be in danger. But Chen Mo merely smiled coldly, waved his hand, and shouted, "Get lost!" Instantly, the green-haired man was pushed back, spitting blood from the internal injuries. Finally realizing that Chen Mo was a martial artist at the transformation stage, capable of releasing Kai externally. If not for being in Tan Qinsheng's hotel, Chen Mo surely would not have been merciful. He knew he had caused trouble with the wrong person and immediately knelt down, begging for forgiveness and apologizing for not recognizing the towering figure before him. This scene left both Hu Wenwei and Hu Jianhua in disbelief. How could such a young man be a master of the highest level? But the one most shocked was none other than Tan Qinsheng. He could not believe that Chen Mo, who always appeared so ordinary, was a person with such incredible strength. Chen Mo did not offer further explanations. He simply told Tan Qinsheng that he should deal with the current situation. Despite knowing that Chen Mo was a grandmaster, the man with the green hair still refused to fully yield. He warned that no matter how strong Chen Mo was, the Kim family was not something he could contend with. What he did not know was that, even though the Kim family might appear powerful in his eyes, to Chen Mo, they were just ordinary people of no significance. Just as the green-haired man finished speaking, a voice rang out from a distance. "Who dares to speak ill of me behind my back?" The person who entered was Kim Zhenghai, the eldest son of Kim Yi-hwa and grandson of Kim Jong-yoon, and also the young master of the Kim family, whom Hu Wenwei had mentioned. The moment Hu Wenwei saw Kim Zhenghai, he immediately became docile, bowing down like a dog obeying its master. Upon seeing that Chen Mo dared to disregard his family, Kim Zhenghai immediately ordered his subordinates to capture him. However, Chen Mo simply released a gentle surge of energy, sending all of them flying like dry grass. Kim Zhenghai still did not understand what was happening when suddenly his father and grandfather appeared. Thinking that reinforcements had arrived, Kim Zhenghai quickly pointed at Chen Mo and demanded that he be punished severely to maintain the family's dignity. However, Kim Jong-yoon and Kim Yi-hwa did not say a word. They both bowed their heads before Chen Mo and respectfully said, "Kim Jong-yoon takes full responsibility for not educating his descendants properly and offers his sincere apology to Mr. Chen Mo." This scene left everyone in the room stunned. Kim Zhenghai was now at a loss for words, his mouth agape in disbelief. Perhaps he had realized that the person before him was the great master, Chen Mo. Chen Mo remained as calm as ever, addressing Kim Jong-yoon. "My friend Tan Qinsheng was insulted and kicked out by your grandson. How do you intend to resolve this?" Immediately, Kim Jong-yoon's face grew stern as he shouted loudly, ordering Kim Zhenghai to kneel down. There was no denying it. Kim Zhenghai knelt and begged Chen Mo for forgiveness, admitting that he had been blind and failed to recognize true talent. Chen Mo turned to Tan Qinsheng and said, "How do you want to handle what he's done to you?" Tan Qinsheng, despite seeing Kim Zhenghai's sincere apology, had no intention of retaliating. Everything had been resolved and there was no need to continue, but Chen Mo was not about to let it go so easily. He handed the matter over to Kim Jong-yoon, hoping that the outcome would not disappoint him. Understanding Chen Mo's meaning, Kim Jong-yoon did not dare to go against his wishes. He vowed to deal with the matter harshly. Everyone had thought that Kim Jong-yoon would personally punish his son, but instead, he entrusted the task to Kim Yi-hwa. This was a serious crime, so Kim Zhenghai would be punished by the family by having his legs broken and being confined. Upon hearing this, Kim Zhenghai screamed in fear, begging for mercy. But even though Kim Yi-hwa was sorrowful in front of Chen Mo, he dared not defy the order. Kim Zhenghai could only blame himself for his arrogance and lack of restraint. After receiving Chen Mo's approval, Kim Jong-yoon respectfully took his leave, promising to return another day to continue his apology. Witnessing the Kim family bowing before Chen Mo, both Hu Wenwei and Hu Jianhua were struck with terror. If even the Kim family had to show such respect to Chen Mo, then his background was truly terrifying and beyond comprehension. Once everything had settled down, Tang Guanghui grew even more respectful of Chen Mo, no longer daring to act familiar as an uncle. However, Chen Mo quickly stopped him, saying that no matter what, Tan Qinsheng was still someone he deeply valued, and their relationship made this matter his concern as well. Afterward, Chen Mo bade farewell to Tan Qinsheng and his father and left. Watching his figure disappear, Tan Guanghui could not help but exclaim, "My son is truly lucky to have such a good friend." Though everything had been resolved, Tan Qinsheng did not feel any joy. From this moment, he realized that between the two of them, they no longer belonged to the same world. That night, the car carrying Soshin stopped in front of a gloomy house. After some discussion, Ying Chixian, a member of Yinsan, ordered his subordinates to install something onto the car and prepare to leave. But before they could act, a powerful Taoist descended from above. It was Lian Chengyu from Liusan. Seeing his opponent appear, Ying Chixian became irritated and questioned, "Do you dare to steal the Yin maiden of Yinsan without fear?" Lian Chengju remained calm and cold, affirming that Sochen was the sacred maiden of Liusan. Knowing that a battle was inevitable, Ying Chixiang roared, tearing his clothes to reveal the body cultivated by Yinsen. Even if he had to risk his life, he would not let Lian Chengju achieve his goal. But Lian Chengyu smiled confidently, clearly underestimating the physical strength of Yinsen. He gathered a glowing sphere in his hand, and in an instant, transformed it into a giant, imposing figure. Ying Chixiang didn't even have time to react before the giant sent him flying into a wall, leaving him severely injured. Both saw Sochen as a prize, but in her heart, she only wished for all of them to disappear. Although Ying Chixiang struggled to rise, his injuries were too severe, and he could only mumble, "The Yin Maiden was discovered by us first. Liusen has no reason to harm us." Lian Chengyu, realizing that Ying Chixiang was from Liusan, felt some sympathy and spared his life. However, he emphasized that if Ying Chixiang still insisted on taking the maiden, he would not show mercy. At that moment, Chen Mo had been silently observing the situation from the beginning. When he heard the name Liu San, he vaguely recalled that it seemed to be an ancient sect of immortals that might hide the treasures he needed. Recognizing the right moment, Chen Mo and Chen Sonja decided to step forward. When Lian Chenyu saw Chen Mo, he was extremely surprised. He had searched the area and detected no other presence. On the other hand, Sochen was deeply worried and urged Chen Mo to leave, as this place was not for ordinary people. Chen Mo coldly addressed Lian Chengju, "Release Sochen and bring your sect leader to meet me." Lian Chengju, bewildered by Chen Mo's demand, grew angry and ordered his subordinates to step forward and crush him. However, Chen Mo remained standing still. He simply uttered one word, "Stop." Immediately, the giant foot of the statue froze mid-air, and then its entire body shattered into countless pieces. Lian Chengju was astounded to see his ultimate technique destroyed so easily. He decided to rush forward to capture Sochen, but Chen Mo lightly called out, and the spiritual sword appeared, striking a single blow that severed Lian Chengyu's head from his body. Witnessing this, Sochen was deeply shocked, but instead of fear, she felt that Lian Chengyu's death was deserved. Ying Chixiang and Ying Yiping, seeing the scene, immediately knelt and begged for their lives, vowing loyalty to Chen Mo. In response, Chen Mo said that he had a few questions and required them to answer truthfully, or else the consequences would be dire. After the interrogation, Chen Mo learned that Liusan was founded around 200 years ago by a scholar who discovered an ancient cultivation manual. It wasn't a mainstream sect of immortality, but rather a small branch that developed from it. Currently, the internal factions of Liusan were split, forming two sects, Yinsen and Liusan. Each sect was led by a young sect master. Sochen was a woman with rare Zhai Yin Nu, a special spiritual affinity, which was recorded in the scriptures of Liusan. Both factions sought to offer her to their respective young sect masters. Although Chen Mo had gathered this information about Liusan, he still had not found the answer regarding the demon master's presence on Sochen. The two subordinates in front of him were just low-ranking minions who knew little about the sect's secrets. Chen Mo then gave Ying Chixiang and Ying Yiping a spiritual pill each, which surprised both of them. He told them to eat it, and then take him to meet their young sect master. He warned them to be careful with their lives. Chen Mo mentioned that he could save them, but he could also easily kill them. Not long after, they arrived at a mountain where Liusan was located. Chen Mo sensed the dense spiritual energy here, mixed with malevolent energy, signaling that the place might hold important secrets. As they passed a wide path, Ying Chixiang pointed ahead and said that was the sect's watchtower, and the main gate would be just ahead. The area was desolate, showing no signs of life, which made Sochen uneasy due to the ominous energy around. Noticing her discomfort, Chen Mo held her hand and performed a technique to make her feel better. After walking for a while, Ying Chixiang mentioned that he was merely a resource gatherer in the secular world and rarely came up the mountain, so he was unsure if there were any traps or formations here. Chen Mo reassured him, confidently stating that no matter what formation was present, he could break it easily. True to his prediction, as they neared the entrance to the cave, a group of masked people appeared, blocking their path and questioning them. Chen Mo calmly responded, "I've come to collect a debt from the young sect master of Yinsen." This enraged them, but before they could act, Chen Mo waved his hand, releasing spiritual energy that struck them all, causing them to vomit blood on the spot. Ignoring their astonishment, Chen Mo continued, demanding to see the waste of a sect master. Before they could react, a group of Yinsen disciples rushed out from the cave, quickly surrounding Chen Mo. They activated yin energy and initiated a powerful formation designed to deal with high-level opponents. Ying Chixian, fearful, recalled rumors about this formation, saying it was Yinsen's strongest weapon. The formation quickly overwhelmed Chen Sonja, who had stepped forward to protect Chen Mo, but even he was forced back by the power of the formation. Chen Mo remained calm and explained that this was a gathering formation meant to block attacks. He signaled to Chen Sonja to step aside and let him handle it. Though Chen Sonja felt embarrassed, Chen Mo didn't blame him. Even though Chen Sonja had reached a high level, he still had much to learn. Seeing Chen Mo's confidence, the young sect master of Yinsen grew even more arrogant, challenging Chen Mo to break his great formation. Chen Mo said nothing further. His gaze turned cold. He gathered his strength and his hand, surrounded by thunder, released a powerful wave of energy. He unleashed a spell strike, and with a single blow to the ground, the power was so immense that it shook the entire area. The earth and rocks shattered beneath his feet, and the resulting explosion echoed everywhere. Yinsen's subordinates nearby were caught in the blast, turning to ash instantly. Meanwhile, at a hotel, Nangdong Linchen, a martial artist from the Man family, was causing trouble, claiming that the food was poisoned. Beside him was his son, Man Wenyu. Despite Li Sufan and the chef repeatedly explaining, they continued to cause a scene. Everyone knew this was just a ploy. When Chen Mo appeared, Li Sufang felt somewhat relieved and asked about Chen Sonja. Chen Mo responded that he would handle this himself. Upon seeing Chen Mo, Nangdong Linchen looked down on him, thinking he was just a novice. But Chen Mo calmly said with certainty, "Anyone who comes here has no way out." This made Nangdong Linchen blush with anger as he charged forward, throwing a punch, intending to teach Chen Mo a lesson. However, before he could get close, Chen Mo slapped him hard, sending him crashing to the ground. At that moment, Nangdong Linchen realized he had faced a high-level grandmaster and immediately panicked, ordering his disciples to leave. He knew that no matter how many people he had, they couldn't defeat Chen Mo. Before leaving, he swore to remember this grudge, but Chen Mo wouldn't let him leave so easily. He moved in an instant, grabbing Nangdong Linchen by the neck and pushing him forward with a threatening force. At this point, Nangdong Linchen could only wonder who Chen Mo really was. Man Wenyu, standing beside him, repeatedly demanded that Chen Mo release Nangdong Linchen, warning that the Nangdong family would flatten the Manhwa corporation. Even though Nangdong Linchen was in Chen Mo's grasp, he still acted arrogantly, threatening Chen Mo to kneel and beg for mercy. Otherwise, he would destroy Chen Mo's entire family. Ignoring the threats from Nangdong Linchen and Man Wenyu, Chen Mo remained unmoved. Although Man Wenyu seemed to be trying to help, Chen Mo understood that he only wanted to push him into action, giving the Nangdong and Man families a reason to unite and attack him. Yet, despite all the scheming, Chen Mo stayed resolute. He decided to crush Nangdong Linchen right then and there. The scene left Chen Mo's mother and sister horrified, and even Man Wenyu didn't expect Chen Mo to go that far. He was certain that the Nangdong family would not let this slide. Chen Mo calmly threw Nangdong Linchen's body to the ground as if discarding a useless item, declaring that he was ready to welcome anyone who dared to come after him. However, Man Wenyu could not leave so easily. Upon hearing Chen Mo's words, he became panicked, repeatedly claiming that he was just a person from the secular world, not involved in martial arts, so Chen Mo should not touch him. Before he could finish speaking, Chen Mo acted swiftly. He didn't take his life, but completely shattered both of Man Wenyu's legs, causing him to kneel in pain. Before leaving, Chen Mo reminded him to send a message to Man Jiangno, saying that if he ever repeated his actions, he should not expect his family to survive. Seeing Chen Mo's ruthless actions, his mother and sister became deeply worried. Chen Mo calmly explained that for people like them, only forceful methods could protect everyone. Don't talk about killing one person, even if I had to face the entire world, I wouldn't hesitate. His words moved his mother, Li Sufang, to tears as she embraced him, like a child who needed protection. That night, at the house of the Man family, doctors worked tirelessly to treat Man Wenyu. But they were helpless. His legs had been completely shattered, and he would be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Despite this, Man Wenyu remained courageous, reassuring everyone that there was no need to worry. Chen Mo has killed Nangon Linshan. This is the best outcome we could hope for. Now, we just wait for the Nangon family to take action against him. Upon hearing this, Man Jano flew into a rage. Seeing his son crippled, he swore that no matter the cost, Chen Mo would have to pay with his life. The next morning, at a beautiful lakeside villa, Chen Mo nonchalantly informed the guard that the place now belonged to him. The guard tried to stop him, but Chen Mo coolly told him to relay a message to Man Jano, thanking him for giving him the villa. Upon hearing Chen Mo's name, the guard immediately panicked and rushed off, as if staying any longer would bring disaster. Chen Mo walked around the villa, admiring its luxurious splendor. This truly is a magnificent place, no wonder it belongs to a wealthy family, he thought. Afterward, he ordered his subordinates to collect all the treasures, gems, and spirit stones in the area, no matter how big or small. 10 pieces will be exchanged for 1 healing pill, and there is no limit to the number of exchanges. Furthermore, Jiang Xiang would live there from now on and could choose any room she liked. After touring the villa, Chen Mo noticed that the feng shui of the place was excellent, perfect for setting up a perpetual cycle formation. At that moment, a man flew down from above, seemingly anticipating his arrival. Chen Mo, however, showed no surprise. He calmly said, "Before you die, tell me your name." The man introduced himself as Sijum Song, the elder of Nangdong, and looked down on Chen Mo, thinking him foolish to seek death at such a young age. With that, Sijum Song swung his sword, unleashing a torrent of spiritual energy towards Chen Mo. Without hesitation, Chen Mo released a powerful spell, sending Sijum Song flying far away. When he saw that Sijum Song was still alive, Chen Mo realized he had some skill. From a distance, Nangon Linshan's father was watching, deeply shocked by Chen Mo's strength. Upon being discovered, he panicked and was unable to react. Chen Mo laughed loudly and said, "When you hit a small target, a bigger one comes to face you. And when you hit that big target, an even bigger one appears." Nangon Linshan's father attempted to use his son to threaten Chen Mo, but before he could finish speaking, his entire body exploded. Chen Mo remarked, "Even if you didn't come looking for me, I would have come looking for you." After dealing with Nangon Linshan's father, Sijum Song, the elder, immediately fled, but Chen Mo knew he wouldn't last more than 7 days. In fact, he was eager to face the truly powerful members of the Nangdong family. A week later, a large amount of treasure, gems, and spirit stones was delivered to Chen Mo. Seeing the spoils, he couldn't help but praise the usefulness of the people he had dealt with. Soon after, Chen Mo received a call from Yan Maram, inviting him to her birthday party. Naturally, Chen Mo had no reason to refuse. Recalling memories from his past life, he knew that something significant would happen on that day, and he was determined to protect her from any danger. After finishing the setup for the perpetual cycle formation and using an illusion technique, Chen Mo ensured that no one could approach the villa without his permission. Holding the vial of water spirit tea, he was ready to put his plan into action. At Chomuna's villa, he was enjoying the company of several women when suddenly he heard his name being called. Turning around, he saw Chen Mo approaching, which caused him to break into a cold sweat and sit up straight. Today, Chen Mo had come to assign him an important task. However, Chomune could not hide his nervousness, for even with over 100 guards surrounding him, Chen Mo had easily made his way in, which was truly terrifying. Chen Mo took out a vial of water spirit tea and dropped a single drop onto the ground in front of Chomune. Immediately, the grass and plants around began to grow rapidly, astonishing Chomuna, who exclaimed, "Water spirit god!" Chen Mo explained that water spirit tea had a powerful effect on plants. As for humans, if consumed over a long period, it could heal all diseases and prolong life. Chomuna was stunned by this miraculous effect and was willing to pay any price to acquire it. However, Chen Mo had no intention of selling it. Instead, he proposed starting a company to dilute the water spirit tea and sell it on the market, offering Chomuna a 50% share of the profits. Hearing this, Chomuna's eyes lit up with excitement, realizing the opportunity to make a fortune. However, he still wondered why Chen Mo, who didn't seem to care about mundane wealth, would suddenly want to sell such a precious item. Chen Mo simply replied, "This is part of a larger plan. Don't worry about it." After some thought, Chen Mo decided to name the company Guio Sengyan, based on the origin of the water spirit tea from the Yanqui Lake. The next day, Chen Mo set off to attend Yan Murong's birthday party at a grand event held in Bakyu District. During the trip, Chen Mo was approached by a pair of siblings who asked him to switch seats because the younger sister wanted to sit next to her brother. However, he refused as his ticket clearly indicated his seat, and he was under no obligation to comply. When they failed to persuade him, the girl turned to her brother for help. Although the older brother seemed reasonable, he gave Chen Mo a sharp, assessing look. When the train stopped, the siblings blocked Chen Mo's path and threatened him. The older brother demanded that Chen Mo apologize to his sister, or else he would take action. Chen Mo calmly asked, "How strong are you once you reach the internal stage?" This caught the older man off guard as he realized that Chen Mo, too, was a martial artist. However, before the man could react, Chen Mo swiftly slapped him, sending him crashing to the ground. As for the girl, he didn't hesitate to throw her into a trash bin nearby. When Chen Mo arrived, he was met with mocking glances from the crowd, who thought he was just a friend of Yan Murong invited to bask in her glory. Nevertheless, he didn't care and just wanted to give a gift and leave. When Zhen Yuanhao and An Qiu saw Chen Mo, they looked displeased, surprised that he dared to attend the party. Yu Jiahao, a rich second-generation heir, also scoffed, wondering if Chen Mo thought he was worthy of being at Yan Murong's birthday party. Without hesitation, An Qiu stepped forward to stop Chen Mo, advising him to leave before embarrassing himself. Chen Mo coldly responded, "I know exactly what I'm doing. You don't need to worry." She continued to mock him, saying that Chen Mo's Manhwa Corporation was nothing compared to the people present, and that he and Yan Murong were from two different worlds. At this point, Chen Mo's patience ran out, and he shouted at her to leave. He emphasized that this was the last time she could speak to him in such a manner, because he was no longer the weak person he once was. Just then, Yu Jiahao looked surprised as two new guests, Yu Wenqing and Yu Wenfengfei, arrived. From their conversation, Chen Mo realized that Yu Wenqing was pursuing Yan Murong and had come not just to celebrate her birthday, but also to teach a lesson to anyone who dared to compete with him for Yan Murong. Yu Jiahao quickly pointed out that Chen Mo was the person in question. Upon hearing Chen Mo's name, Yu Wenqing was initially stunned, but quickly regained his composure and began plotting revenge. Not wasting any time, Yu Wenqing left the party and shortly returned with a tall man. Zhao Xinhuang, the leader of the Zhao family, a powerful family second only to the Nangong family. The sight of this caused the green-haired girl and Gaian Song to secretly rejoice, anticipating Chen Mo's downfall. They believed that since Chen Mo had ignored An Qiu's advice, he would now have no way out. Yu Wenfengfei rushed forward to accuse Chen Mo of bullying her. Regardless of the truth, Zhao Xinhuang immediately ordered Chen Mo to apologize. However, Chen Mo simply responded coldly, telling him to get lost, leaving the crowd stunned, unable to believe what they had just heard. Even powerful families like the Nangong family would never speak like that to Zhao Xinhuang. The Yuan brothers and the crowd were ecstatic, eagerly waiting for Chen Mo to pay the price for his arrogance. But when the old Taoist priest behind Zhao Xinhuang was about to speak, Chen Mo coldly said, "Just an internal stage martial artist, and you dare to act tough with me." Realizing that Chen Mo was no ordinary person, the old man hurriedly stepped in front of Zhao Xinhuang. But Zhao Xinhuang still ordered him to deal with Chen Mo. Chen Mo insisted that he would handle any consequences, as Zhao Xinhuang had no need to worry. Just as the tension reached its peak, Yan Murong's father arrived, breaking the standoff. After a brief exchange, Zhao Xinhuang decided to temporarily let the matter go, out of respect for Yan Morong's father. However, he warned that the issue was not over. Before leaving, the Yuan brothers still managed to threaten Chen Mo, saying that he would never leave safely. After the party, once the group left, Yan Morong's father warned Chen Mo about the consequences of his actions, advising him to look out for himself, as he would not protect him from the revenge of the two powerful families. Chen Mo showed no signs of concern, asserting that no family could intimidate him. Hearing this, Yan Morong's father sighed and urged Chen Mo to take care of himself. Soon after, the atmosphere at the party lightened as Yan Morong appeared in a beautiful dress and crown, dazzling everyone in the room. Yu Wenqing couldn't control his desire to possess her when he saw her beauty and status. The guests around them couldn't stop praising Yan Morong, calling her the pride of her family. Next came the gift-giving session, where everyone brought extravagant presents. While Yan Morong was chatting with Anqiu, she suddenly looked around and spotted Chen Mo. Her eyes lit up, and she was happy to see him. No matter what the gift was, as long as it was from him, she would love it. Someone immediately challenged Chen Mo, questioning what he could possibly give of value. In response, Chen Mo confidently stated that he did not come empty-handed. He walked over to Yan Morong and presented her with a jade pendant, explaining that he had made it himself and hoped she would always keep it with her. The sight of Chen Mo placing the jade pendant on Yan Morong's neck stirred the crowd. Yu Wenqing was furious, gritting his teeth in jealousy, but at the same time, he was amazed to feel the water-based spiritual energy emanating from the jade pendant. He suspected that this wasn't just an ordinary gift, but a high-level magical artifact. A master in the crowd stepped forward to examine the pendant more closely. Meanwhile, Chen Mo quickly said his goodbyes to Yan Morong, stating that he had to leave, even though she wanted him to stay. Yu Jiahao sneered, mocking Chen Mo for giving a cheap gift and rushing off to avoid being found out. Chen Mo stayed silent, but Yu Jiahao's provocative attitude only irritated him further. As the tension grew, Yan Morong stepped in to intervene. At that moment, Chen Mo activated the jade pendant, causing it to glow and surround Yan Morong with light, leaving everyone stunned at its miraculous power. Yu Wenqing was now completely certain that this gift was extraordinary. After an expert examined the pendant, they advised Yan Morong to always keep it with her, confirming that it was the most valuable gift of the entire party, far surpassing any other presents. Chen Mo had given a priceless gift, so much so that the expert even thanked him on behalf of Yan Morong. This made Yu Jiahao flush with anger, not expecting the old man to value the jade pendant so much. Meanwhile, Anqiu became even more curious about Chen Mo's secrets, wondering how much he was still hiding. As for Yan Morong, she was overjoyed. The fact that Chen Mo gave her such a precious gift meant that she was very important to him. Suddenly, a commotion erupted outside the party. A group of people carrying funeral wreaths stormed into the villa, as if slapping Yan Morong's father in the face. After a few questions from Yan Morong's father, a fierce-looking man stepped forward, claiming that he knew this was Yan Morong's house and had come here on purpose, not by mistake. When asked for his identity, he refused to answer, stating that he had come to seek justice for over 10 members of the Sanhis society. Hearing this, the entire party fell silent. Yan Morong's father immediately called for his people to arrest the intruders, but the man with green hair just sneered and said, "You're in a hurry, afraid your secrets will be exposed." Immediately after, Yan Morong's people rushed to attack, but the man with the blonde hair only used one hand and one foot to send them flying. This made him even more arrogant, implying that the Yan family had weakened and committed shady deeds. Left with no choice, Yan Morong's father had to call Supa to take action and receive orders. Supa unleashed his strength, but even his imposing presence could not overpower the man. After a fierce battle, Supa finally drove the green-haired man back, wounding him and forcing him to retreat. At this moment, the green-haired man shouted "Master," and another man appeared with a large scar on his face. He asked Yan Yut if he remembered him. This was Im Peqian, the son of Im Qianvi, whose clan had been exterminated by Yan Yut. The scar on Im Peqian's face was caused by Yan Yut himself. He returned today to avenge his clan and seek justice for his family. Yan Yut immediately called Supa to deal with him, But as Supa stepped forward, Impachin became enraged, revealing that Supa had killed his parents. With a determination for revenge, Impachin didn't hesitate to respond and sent Supa flying with a single punch. At this moment, Yan Murong stepped forward and stood in front of Impachin, which made him compliment her, saying that she was a good daughter. He then intended to capture her and humiliate her in front of everyone to avenge the extermination of his clan. Yan Mute, although shaking with anger, could do nothing, and the people of Anqiu did not dare speak up, knowing they were powerless to help. Even Yu Wencheng, who secretly admired Yan Murong, didn't dare intervene and only told his sister to hide behind him. When Impachin was about to act, unexpectedly, a powerful punch to his face stunned him. Chen Mo had rushed over and saved Yan Murong. He coldly declared, "If you dare humiliate her in front of me, you are courting death." This scene left Ying Chixiang and Ying Yiping horrified to the point of speechlessness. Even Soqian, who had known that Chen Mo was not an ordinary person, was astonished by his overwhelming strength. The destructive power of his punch far exceeded what she could imagine. The scene shifted as Yin Sen's young master witnessed his disciples being killed. He was enraged to the extreme and was willing to pay any price for revenge. However, little did he know that with just these words, Chen Mo had already decided to annihilate Liu San and leave no one alive. The greatest regret for Chen Mo in his previous life was that he couldn't protect his family and friends from their tragic end. But now, in this reborn life, Chen Mo was determined not to let the tragedy repeat itself. Soqian and Chen Songjia hadn't seen Chen Mo this angry in a long time, and they both understood that this time, Yin Sen's young master was unlikely to escape calamity. After dealing with his disciples, Chen Mo led everyone deeper into Liu San. Not long after, a large, stout man appeared in front of them, exuding a sinister aura. This man was none other than the young sect master of Yin Sen. He crazily declared that with Song Tu and the Yin Maiden, he would surpass even the sect master and make Liu San his own. Hearing these words, Soqian couldn't help but feel disgusted, but Chen Mo only smiled coldly. He understood that the young sect master wanted to use the weapons here to kill him, but that was a foolish move, like using eggs to fight against rocks. The young sect master was shocked that Chen Mo knew about the weapons and immediately asked him about his background, but Chen Mo didn't answer. Instead, he asked about the person who had placed the demon master's curse on Soqian. The young sect master admitted that he was not the one who did it. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Mo controlled his spiritual sword to strike. The young sect master raised his hand to block, but unexpectedly, his arm was severed, only to grow back instantly. In an instant, a bizarre scene unfolded. At first, Chen Mo thought the young sect master had cultivated a body of the Tao, but soon he realized something was off. The young sect master, smug with his odd ability, demanded that Chen Mo hand over his secrets and submit to him if he didn't want to die. Not paying attention to the threats, Chen Mo continued attacking with his spiritual sword, but the young sect master used his protective weapons to block every strike without taking any damage. Nevertheless, Chen Mo didn't stop and continued launching even stronger attacks, wondering what kind of weapon could block the Chanshin sword. Just as the spiritual sword pierced the wall behind the young sect master, everyone froze in shock. Behind the young sect master was not just a wall, but the bones of countless people, piled up in a chaotic scene that emanated a dense, sinister aura. The young sect master laughed cruelly, admitting that these were the remains of a mighty army. According to him, only warriors with a strong sense of sacrifice could release such powerful weapons. After hearing this, Soqian remembered that over 10,000 soldiers had disappeared in battle years ago. Little did she know that all of them had become the dry bones beneath the ground. These restless spirits, unable to go to battle, had generated this enormous amount of malevolent energy. In front of this horrifying sight, the young sect master showed no sign of humanity. He even boasted that if more people died, he could cultivate to the highest level. Chen Mo's fury surged. If he didn't kill this man today, he would never live in peace. In response, the young sect master acknowledged that Chen Mo was tough, but was confident that with his weapons, he was invincible. Chen Mo said nothing, his gaze growing icy. He began to gather a bright sphere of energy in his hand, and a formation quickly activated. Flames erupted from his feet, burning fiercely. Seeing just flames, the young sect master sneered, saying that his body was invulnerable to both water and fire, and could not be harmed by such a small fire. But before his words could finish, the flames clung to his body, burning him in excruciating pain. No matter how much he struggled, the flames would not extinguish, and he rolled and screamed in agony. Chen Mo felt a slight sense of relief in his heart. Although he couldn't save the soldiers who had died, avenging them was a comfort. Ignoring the young sect master's desperate pleas, Chen Mo let the flames continue to consume him until only a branch remained on the ground. Chen Mo picked up the branch and was surprised to find that it was a top-grade material used to craft elixirs and magical weapons. With it, he could cultivate to the level of immortality. At that moment, a man exuding an incredibly powerful aura appeared behind them. As soon as he arrived, he demanded that Chen Mo's group leave Soshin behind and promised to let them leave safely. In response to Chen Mo's question, he revealed that he was the sect master of Liu-san, and that he was the one who had placed the demon master curse on Sokyin. According to him, Sokyin becoming his sole servant was an honor. In return, Chen Mo coldly remarked that it was also an honor for him to kill the sect master. However, in the sect master's eyes, Chen Mo was not a threat, as he had successfully completed his magical formation, reaching a state of yin-yang harmony. He was confident that after absorbing the demon master's curse on Soshin, he would be the first to reach the immortal realm in 100 years. Chen Mo remained calm and unshaken in the face of the sect master's arrogance. When the sect master charged at him with such speed that the naked eye could barely follow, even Chen Sonja, a grandmaster, could not catch a clear view. This showed how terrifyingly powerful the sect master's magic was. Yet, Chen Mo simply threw a punch, sending the sect master flying, demonstrating his overwhelming strength. Shocked by Chen Mo's ability, the sect master began to grow curious about his background, but Chen Mo simply coldly replied, "You don't need to know, because you are about to die." Quickly leaping into the air, Chen Mo gathered spiritual power on his arm and rushed straight towards the sect master. The sect master hurriedly used a technique to defend, but a deafening explosion rang out when Chen Mo's punch collided with the protective barrier. Though pushed back, the sect master wasn't dead, which surprised Chen Mo. He hadn't expected to encounter an opponent strong enough to help him refine his skills. After being overwhelmed, the sect master of Liu-san became enraged. He formed a seal and released a tremendous burst of energy, soaring into the sky. Instantly, the entire surrounding area was covered in ice, freezing even Chen Mo's body. The ground around them froze, and those standing nearby struggled to breathe, fearing they might be frozen to death. Chen Sonja quickly threw a punch at the ice, but it was in vain as the ice continued to spread. At this point, more than half of Chen Mo's body had been frozen. Seeing this, the sect master of Liu-san laughed triumphantly, thinking that he had finally won. However, Chen Mo sneered, saying, "Is this your magic?" Then, he suddenly broke free from the encasing ice and began preparing to launch his real attack. Soon, the ice surrounding the area was amplified and, instead, surged towards the sect master of Liu-san, trapping him. The sect master was bewildered, unable to understand how Chen Mo could control the ice so effortlessly. In desperation, he took out a ball containing 5 different elemental attributes. Realizing the danger, Chen Mo immediately shouted for everyone to leave the area. The sect master of Liu-san raised the orb, emitting 5 rays of light that created a terrifyingly destructive force. This was his trump card, an array that could destroy the Liu-san sect. Once activated, no one could survive, even the one who initiated the formation. After a loud laugh, he detonated the orb in midair, setting off the formation. From the outside, the scene became incredibly terrifying as the entire mountain shook and cracked, seemingly on the verge of collapsing. During this, the young sect master of Liu-san, watching from a distance, realized that Chen Mo's strength had far exceeded his expectations. Fortunately, he had not acted sooner, or he too would have been destroyed like the sect masters of Yinsen and Liu-san. Seeing that the sect master of Liu-san had died, he secretly planned to take over Liu-san and then kill Chen Mo to avenge the sect master. After the formation destroyed the mountain, a hand emerged from the rubble. It belonged to Chen Sonja, who quickly searched for Chen Mo. Fortunately, Chen Mo had managed to protect Soxian, though she was only unconscious. However, Chen Mo had suffered serious injuries and needed to find a place to recover immediately. Finally, Chen Mo woke up after a long period of time, causing everyone to breathe a sigh of relief. Thanks to the persimmon and the spiritual tree, not only did he fully recover, but he also made a significant breakthrough in his cultivation. However, as soon as he woke up, Chen Mo felt that the jade pendant on Wenqing had cracked. He immediately became extremely worried. Without saying a word, he quickly rushed off and told Chen Sonja and Soqian to stay behind and not worry about him. At the same time, the sect leader of Liusan noticed that Wenqing's jade pendant had broken on the floor. He couldn't believe that a normal person had a protective artifact that was so powerful. Thanks to this, Wenqing understood why Chen Mo had always reminded her to keep the jade pendant with her. In truth, it had blocked the enemy for half an hour. Despite this, the sect leader of Liusan did not give up. He advanced with lecherous intentions. When Guiyang Xian unexpectedly kicked him, he easily blocked the attack and pinned Wenqing to the ground with a lustful look. He spoke with madness in his voice. "Today, I will show you what the ultimate pleasure is." When Wenqing thought she couldn't escape the grasp of the Liusan sect leader, a flash of light suddenly shot toward him, forcing him to retreat. As he looked around in anger, the sect leader suddenly saw Chen Mo appear, standing in front of him with an overwhelming aura. This completely enraged Chen Mo, who boldly declared that from this day on, both the sect leader and Liusan would be erased from this world. The sect leader of Liusan tried to mock him, but Chen Mo's sword was as fast as lightning, cutting off his hand. Chen Mo didn't want to hear any more words from the dying man. Immediately after, the other hand of the sect leader was also severed. He attempted to plead for help, but it was too late. With Chen Mo controlling the sword, the sect leader was sent straight to hell, decisively and coldly. After resolving the situation, Chen Mo comforted Wenqing and Guiyang Xian. Noticing that both of them were still sad and frightened, he decided that not only would he take revenge, but now was the time to vent his anger. He said so, and with the two of them, he headed straight to the Liusan headquarters. In front of them, numerous disciples of Liusan charged at them. Chen Mo casually swung his spiritual sword, defeating all the enemies, causing the remaining ones to tremble in fear and not dare to approach. Chen Mo made his way straight to the headquarters. At this point, all the members of Liusan had gathered, and their numbers were overwhelming. They were angrily threatening Chen Mo, but this only irritated him. Chen Mo activated his power and delivered a powerful punch, instantly eliminating the entire group. In the blink of an eye, a single person had taken on an entire sect. Chen Mo, along with Guiyang Song and Wenqing, returned home that night. Upon reuniting with Guiyang Song, she couldn't hold back her emotions and burst into tears, both from fear and excitement. When her parents asked, Chen Mo simply stated that he had killed all those people, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. He would wipe them all out, and no one would dare to touch his family and friends again. At that moment, the killing intent emanating from Chen Mo was still strong, fueled by immense hatred, but when he saw his parents, he quickly regained his composure. He smiled and jokingly said that Chen Sonja had taught him how to handle major matters, which reassured his parents, causing them to stop questioning him. Chen Mo also carefully crafted a protective jade pendant for the whole family. While his father was still puzzled, Li Xufang quickly spoke up, reminding him not to ask further. In the private room, Guiyang Xian knelt before Chen Mo, sincerely expressing her gratitude. Eventually, Chen Mo agreed to take her as a disciple. From then on, Chen Sonja would be the senior brother, though he still treated Guiyang Xian politely, knowing she could become the sect mother in the future. 3 days later, Guiyang Xian had already gotten used to absorbing spiritual energy. Chen Mo took her to the sacred grounds to build her foundation, and her progress was rapid. However, Chen Mo also noticed something unusual about her speed. It might be a sign of underlying issues. Meanwhile, Chen Mo had a meeting with Anqiu. She knew that Chen Mo was good at fighting and had certain connections, so she thought that he would inherit his family's wealth in the future. However, she still looked down on him, believing he was not worthy of Yan Morong. Chen Mo only smiled at her words, thinking that Ankyu's thoughts were shallow. To him, things like status and wealth, which she valued, were just trash. He advised her to broaden her perspective and not judge others by such superficial things. The next evening, at a large hotel, a charity auction took place, featuring a special magical artifact. This was the reason Chen Mo had come. In addition to cultivators, many secular people attended, some in search of treasures, others out of curiosity. Among them were Zheng Yuanhao's group and Anqiu. When they saw Chen Mo at the event, they looked displeased, assuming that he was only there because of connections. As soon as Yan Yurong saw Chen Mo, she rushed to greet him happily. He explained that he had been invited by a friend and had brought her along. Just then, Yap Qianyang appeared, surprising everyone. According to him, he had joined a special force in the army and was now visiting home. When he saw Yan Yurong standing next to Chen Mo, Yap Qianyang angrily confronted him. Before he could hear a response from her, a girl with green hair stepped in and recounted how Yan Yurong had voluntarily run into Chen Mo's arms during the school anniversary celebration. Upon hearing this, Yap Qianyang erupted in fury, shouting at Chen Mo, "Who do you think you are, touching my woman? Who gave you the courage to do that?" Yan Yurong immediately retorted, "I was never yours." Yap Qianyang mocked Chen Mo, calling him a useless person who hid behind women. However, Chen Mo simply smiled coldly and said, "A useless person is someone who doesn't even have a woman to protect him." Yap Qianyang couldn't take it anymore. He threw a punch at Chen Mo in a fit of rage, shouting, "You dare humiliate me? You only have one way to go, death." However, Chen Mo casually uttered, "Get lost," with a killing intent so strong that Yap Qianyang froze in place, trembling, unable to understand why a skinny person like Chen Mo could exude such terrifying power. Helpless, he stood there, horrified and fearful. Ignoring Yap Qianyang, Chen Mo turned to Yan Morong, preparing to leave. But unexpectedly, Yap Qianyang was not done. He pulled out a gun and threatened Chen Mo. Everyone around was shocked by the escalation of the situation. Yan Morong questioned Yap Qianyang, but he only sneered, determined to see if Chen Mo was stronger than a bullet. Chen Mo remained calm and unafraid. He knew that if Yap Qianyang dared to pull the trigger, he would instantly kill him. Suddenly, Kim Pei-yun appeared and shouted loudly, "Yap Qianyang, stop!" Upon hearing Kim Pei-yun's voice, Yap Qianyang was surprised. He knew that he couldn't afford to offend Kim Pei-yun, whose family had much more power. Kim Pei-yun coldly stated, "Chen Mo is my guest. Do you want to start a war with my family?" Her words stunned everyone around. No one expected that Chen Mo had the status for Kim Pei-yun to be willing to protect him, even using her family's power to face off against Yap Qianyang. After a moment of hesitation, Yap Qianyang had no choice but to swallow his anger and lower his gun, though he didn't forget to leave a threat. "If I find out you're still involved with Yan Morong, I'll make sure you live a life worse than death." Despite witnessing everything, Anqiu still looked down on Chen Mo. In her mind, even though Kim Pei-yun had protected him, it was still her family's background, not his. Once the Kim Pei-yun family abandoned him, Chen Mo would become worthless. After the situation settled down, Kim Pei-yun approached and respectfully invited Chen Mo to sit in the VIP seats. However, unexpectedly, Chen Mo gave her a stern look and coldly warned, "Don't ever scheme in front of me again, or don't blame me for not showing any respect." Her words made Kim Pei-yun tremble with fear. She immediately bowed her head and apologized. She knew that Chen Mo had realized she was behind protecting Yap Qianyang. As Chen Mo and Yan Morong prepared to leave, Yan Morong's father, Yan Muk, unexpectedly appeared, causing a stir in the entire hall. No one had expected that Yan Yurong was the daughter of Yan Muk, a legendary hero in the southern region. Even Kim Pei-yun bowed respectfully to him. After being introduced, Chen Mo politely greeted him, but Yan Muk only coldly reminded him not to be too arrogant. Then, he called Yan Morong to his side. When Yan Morong left, Chen Mo's expression darkened with anger. He thought, "Arrogant? If it weren't for Yan Morong, Yan Muk wouldn't even have the right to speak to me like that." He suppressed his anger and focused on the auction. The first item up for bidding was an ancient relic from a divine being. As soon as he saw it, Chen Mo felt a sense of familiarity, as if it had been lost long ago. It was the handkerchief, a legendary magical artifact full of mystery, something he had been searching for. He realized that this could be a clue left by his little junior sister, and he became even more determined to win it. Suddenly, he received a call from Wenking, informing him that the Manhwa Corporation was being harassed by martial artists from the Man family, who were causing trouble at the Lamlim Hotel under their control. Chen Mo immediately agreed, seeing this as a perfect opportunity to destroy the Man family once and for all.